So it has been over 1.5 months with the Opel Mokka-E, my electric vehicle, my EV, and over 5,500 kilometers driven. So I use this mainly as a long distance vehicle. And it has a pretty small battery, especially compared to more expensive EVs like Tesla. So how did I get along with it? Let me tell you more about it. Wrong way. I'm making this video from a very utilitarian perspective. I am not a car nerd. I don't get a boner from farting noises in cars. I prefer trains to this, but for the work I do with wheels and wanting to go to other cities in Poland, here I have one of the wheels, here I have the X-Way, here's the Falcon helmet. I thought that the car might be like the best choice in terms of cost, taking a lot of gear with you, and not having, you know, a helmet, back protectors, 2 wheels with me on the train. And sometimes, for example, in Spain, it is not allowed to even take an electric unicycle on a train. So I was like, okay, I tried it with a camper before, that sucked. It was diesel. Check out the video on my channel if you want to see that. And that brought me to the Opel Mokka. So yeah, in this video, I'll just answer like 5 questions that I had before owning an EV. All right, so the first question is, what is the most difficult part about charging? Because yeah, that's the first question I get when it comes to EVs. Where do you charge? You know, does a station not work when you get there? Is there, you know, some sort of difficulties? Do you wait on a charging station until you can charge? And the answer is no. Like, it hasn't been a problem at all. Like, just once when I was going from Warsaw to Gdańsk, there was one station that was not available for like 1.5 hours, and pretty close by, 20 kilometers further, I chose a different station. Once when I was going back and I did, as said, a lot of kilometers, I had to wait maybe 5 or 10 minutes until a different car stopped charging at this particular charging station. Sheesh, I feel so naked. But anyway, on longer trips, it was never an issue, but sometimes when I was going around the city, if there was just one charge spot, it could have been occupied. That happened to me maybe like 2-3 times tops, but now that I found a reliable charging spot close to me, which has, you know, 4 places, then yeah, it's not really an issue. And in the city, there's tons of chargers and you don't really have big distances, so yeah, that wasn't a big issue either. The availability of it is, at least in Poland, in Europe, is not a big issue, at least for me and the cities where I was going to. The amount of EVs is, I would say, adequate to the charging stations. I don't have to wait. And with the CCS port, I can charge pretty much anywhere. And this is not a big problem either. I would say that the biggest benefit that you can get is charging at home. I don't have this comfort, but I'll get into this a bit later. So the most difficult thing for me about charging was actually pricing. The pricing is just so off in many charging stations, and it was pretty difficult to me to figure out where to charge and how to charge. So I have an account now at Greenway, and this is, by the way, not sponsored. It's one of the biggest charging station provider services in Poland. And there I have a pretty constant price, but even with those chargers, the prices may vary. So I found out pretty quickly that when I charge at Orlen, the prices are ridiculously high, and I can pay even like 25 or 30% more for the same journey just by using a different charging station provider. So it took a while for me to realize that, okay, I go on Greenway, and then I need to also additionally check if it's not at a parking lot that requires additional payment. So for example, here in Norblin, that's a small shopping mall in the center of Warsaw, it's the cheapest price per watt hour that I've seen anywhere at 1 zloty and 20 groszy, which is about, I don't know, 30 euro cent, cheapest price in Warsaw. But then the parking costs 6 for the first hour and then 10 zloty for every next hour. So this has been really the biggest hurdle for me. And if there would be just a sort of mandate that you can't make the charging like more expensive than, for example, 2 zloty and I don't know, 30 groszy, or any sort of reasonable amount, that'd be a lot easier. But anyway, how did I overcome that? Well, first of all, in my area, I know where to charge cheaply. I have one spot where I don't pay for parking and I can charge at a slow rate, which is cheaper. And when it comes to long distance, I have an app which prefers certain charging stations, so I don't pay too much. So surprisingly enough, the biggest sort of difficulty for me at owning an EV and charging it was not the charging infrastructure. It was really the price. Who would have thought? Because yeah, everything else, it's fine. And it's charging so quickly. On to the next question. So the next question is, what is it like to use this vehicle for long distances? This doesn't have the biggest battery on the market. It's just 46 kilowatt hours of usable battery. So it doesn't have the biggest amount of range. When it comes to charging, it tops out at 100 kilowatts, but I never saw that. I saw a maximum of 90 kilowatts, up to maybe 40%, and then gradually it drops down to 50 kilowatt at 85% battery, and above that, it really depends, anywhere between 50 or 25 kilowatts. So definitely not the quickest way to charge on the market. Teslas can go a lot quicker, even newer Hyundais and other cars, but for me, this was sufficient. How does it look like on a long distance trip? Well, I've done for now, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 long distance trips. So I have a fair understanding now what is the most important thing to do when it comes to those trips. And the first thing you want to do is install an app. It is called ABRP, a better route planner. Here you have the logo. With this app, like I will just select a trip right now. I will go to Wrocław. You can plan how you want to arrive there with your particular car. It actually shows me the road for my car. My car is here selected. I can even use the data from the weather with the premium subscription, which I do have. So it's 370 kilometers. I just need to charge twice, once for 12 minutes, once for 18 minutes. If I go at a speed of 100 kilometers an hour, and then the total time of traveling would be 4 hours, 5 minutes. So what are the key differences here to, using a train, which is a lot faster, a lot more comfortable, and I prefer trains, and also a fossil car. So, of course, compared to a fossil car, it is slower. Yeah, this is just a fact. Is it cheaper? Well, it depends where you charge, but most of the time, if I go at 100 kilometers an hour, the equivalent price is between like 4 to 5 liters of fuel. And this, of course, depends on where you live. So at that speed, it is pretty comfortable to drive the car, and the charge stops are always super quick. Like you just get out to charge, and here, pro tip, just get an RFID card instead of using the app to charge your car, because with the RFID card, it's just a lot quicker to just tap and then you go right away. You go and have a break for peeing, for eating, for coffee, for water, for whatever you want anyway if you go on a trip. And this is just very cool that you can use this time to charge. And I went on a trip with my mom too, and she was like really surprised that it charges so quickly. It's a big difference to EUCs, where I'm usually like, could be a bit faster, but with this one, it's just there. But there's a couple important things that I noticed when it comes to those long distance trips. Number one, you want to start with a full charge. And that is not as easy in my case because I can't charge at home. If you can charge at home, well then you are already at a great head start, because not only do you have cheaper electricity there, but you can also just schedule the charge at 100% and then you go. You don't want to leave the car at 100% too long either. So leaving at 100% or 90, 95 is pretty key to go long distance. Then you want to go pretty slow. In my case, the car isn't super efficient, so I go 100 kilometers an hour, and then I have the stops every 150 to 200 kilometers on the road. So I go for about 1.5 hours, 2 hours of driving, I have a rest, and then you go on. And that's super comfortable. But you mostly want to have a charge stop at around 10 or 20% battery, because above that, you'll just have too many charge stops and the battery won't charge as fast. So down to 10%, and then you go maybe 85% if you don't want to have too many charge stops. But all of that is done via the A Better Route Planner app, and it does that pretty well. And then the last thing that is pretty important is that you want to have destination charging. So once you arrive to your destination, it could be even just a usual 230 volt socket, could be a charging station, so that the next day, once you're done with sleeping, eating, you have a full charge right away. And for that, I bought myself a 30-meter long cable if I want to charge at some friends that have an outlet, and I can just get the car there. I have a Type 2 cable, let me show you. I have a Type 2 cable for all of the sort of public charging stations that don't have a cable. And I also bought myself a charger for this red plug, 3-phase current, 16 amps. So I could use that if that is available to where I'm going, or of course also the regular household socket. And for the most part, the socket is even enough if you get to a hotel, and if they can like provide you a socket without any major cost. But yeah, ask about that before, because with charging at a hotel and using a small household socket, they can also just give you a ridiculous price. So yeah, luckily there's a kilowatt hour counter on this charger, so you can even tell your buddies or the hotel how many kilowatt hours you used, so you're fair on that regard. But anyways, in total, when it comes to those long trips with the car, I do like it that I don't pollute the environment. Of course, you know, there's super yachts, which in my opinion should be forbidden, or, you know, private jets that emit a lot more greenhouse emissions than, you know, a fossil equivalent of this car would. But in any way, I just feel a lot better driving this. It's quiet, it's nice. I love the charging process, that you just go, plug it in, and then you can do whatever you want. You can leave the car running with air conditioning once you're stopped, because you don't make any exhaust fumes. So I do prefer it. It's a lot smoother, it's a lot more responsive, but you do have more of a road trip attitude. So you go, you stop, you have to take care of yourself, find something to do. And wheels have been so helpful in that regard too, especially the Petite Falcon, which is also available at OneRide, linked below. Also coupon code WRONGWAY if you want to get a wheel like this with a discount. So if I was charging somewhere and I needed to go, then, you know, I would just take this thing out, whoop, turn it on, boom. And then I can leave the car charging and do something in the meantime. So especially small wheels like that are awesome to combine with an EV, because yeah, they're just super convenient and small. Doesn't take up any space at all. Even though it's not as good as a train, I do enjoy doing some longer trips with this car. All right, so question number 3, and I noticed this video is getting a little long, so I'll try to answer the questions a bit more quickly. What's the range on it? And honestly, I don't know. I never drove it to 0%. The least amount of battery I had was maybe 5 or 7%. And I would say it's anywhere between 200 to 300 kilometers, depending on how you drive. In the city, you can check out my battery usage, 16, 17, 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Here I have for the last 800 kilometers, it's 16. In any way, I usually charge when it comes to long distance after 150, 200, sometimes 230 kilometers. And when it comes to city driving, I just drive it, and if there's a charger on the go, I'll charge. I never really worry about it. I notice that it's more often than if I would have a fossil car, but it's not a biggie. The range is fine. All right, so question number 4 is the cost. So when it comes to just the cost of driving, I mentioned it earlier, it's about 4 to 5 liters equivalent of using a fossil car. So it's about the same, but if you find a cheap charging station, then it gets even cheaper than a fossil car at around 2 to 4 liters in the city or going on highway, because this car is also shaped like a brick. It's not the best one for long distances. So in any case, the price is acceptable for me. And when it comes to just the price of the car, it cost me about 17,000 euro. I took out a loan for it. And this is mostly the thing that annoys me the most, because I have a monthly payment that I need to do, and it's a lot more than just not having it and using a train. But in the end, I am happy that I took it like this, because if I would just borrow cars every now and then if I made some sort of dent, or if I made some sort of scratch here on the leather, or I don't think it's leather, on the material, then I could have a lot of cost for that. Yeah, cheers, Adek. You had that problem recently, Adek from Grizzla. And if I leased it, well, maybe leasing would be nice, but in the end, I have it on my own. It is a cost. It's a pretty significant cost. Is it worth it? Like, I'm not even sure now. Like, I'm happy that I can take 2 UCs, 3 UCs. I can take a buddy with me, and then the price is also better if we go together. And it's nice to have the spare UC for if you go really far. And I am planning to go on a EU road trip pretty soon with this vehicle. It costs a fair amount of money, and then you buy, you know, tires and insurance, and it's really eating into your budget a lot. But in the end, I do like that it's electric, that it's cheap to run. I don't need to change oil. I don't have to do much maintenance on it. And yeah, it's still expensive, and I would still prefer to just use trains, but here we are. Welcome to Wrong Way. And the fifth question I have is, do I regret buying it? And the answer is no. Like, there were some other options in terms of EV that might have been better, like a smaller, you know, Peugeot 208 electric, or a Opel Corsa electric, or Hyundai Ioniq. But this car is also pretty nice because it has quite a bit of room, so it's a bit more comfortable for those longer rides, taking a lot of stuff with you. So in the end, I'm pretty happy. Like, I know this is not the be-all, end-all, and there's cars that would be better for long trips, like, you know, a Hyundai Ioniq 6. But this is good enough, and it feels pretty good. So yeah, I will experiment with it a little bit more and see where the journey takes me. But I'm definitely not regretting buying it. And I did regret buying the camper a lot. I hated that thing so much. But with this one, it's nice. It's for a car, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I hope you did like the perspective of someone that is not a, you know, car aficionado, or someone that doesn't like trains or didn't try other means of transportation. This is very much a perspective of a dude that uses UCs in a city, or, you know, doesn't use this car at all pretty much in the city, except for, you know, really instances where there is no convenient way to take public transport late in the night, or if I need to haul some EUCs in the back, or if I need to take like 4 of my friends with me. But mostly I just use, you know, EUCs in the city, public transport. And if I have the choice to not take the car, I will take a train. I still prefer a train to that. So yeah, I hope you like this perspective. And if you're still here, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more content like this. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.